At COP30, the focus is shifting from big climate pledges towards concrete implementation and, more importantly, how to pay for that. The Finance, Investment and Trade Day is examining ways to scale up climate finance and investment and promote environmental trade. Our correspondent Li Jianhua has been speaking to the Vice President of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank.
Yeah, so if you look from the AIIB point of view, we have, along with the other MDBs, in 2023, we financed about $137 billion US. And last year, we increased, the whole financing increased by 10%. So we do recognize that, the gap is $1.3 trillion. And how do we reach there? Right. And that is why, one of the major focus, which, the AIIB is trying to drive, that involving the private sector, the private capital. Because, so far the governments are concerned, sovereign governments are concerned, particularly you can see that emerging economies, global south, they have a huge fiscal constraints. Our goal is that by 2030, 50% of our financing will be in the private sector. And where are we today? Last year, we achieved this figure was 34%. We hope that in the next few years, maybe before 2030, we will try to go to a level where our 50% of our financing will be to the private sector.
Do you think the private sector will be enough to fill the gap? And many investors tend to think that developing country projects are high risk and low return. What do you do to convince the private sector?
One is that putting our own capital. If the AIIB or, the other multilateral development banks, if they are putting their own money, it means that maybe, they can also take the risk. That is one. Second is that we have to work with the national governments and create an enabling environment, create an appropriate regulatory institution to protect the investments made by the private sector. Not only to protect the investments made by the private sector, they're also able to generate enough return to attract more and more capital in future.
And what kinds of projects do you tend to invest in?
We are there to invest in the sustainable infrastructure and other productive sectors. And our definition of infrastructure is very broad. The energy, renewable energy, then transport, then the water, then the health and education, and then the transport and regional connectivity, and also the digital connectivity, digital infrastructure. In the last about 9 years, we have invested in 339 projects in more than 39 countries, and which the total cumulative amount is more than $62 billion US.
So it seems like from your perspective that investors are still quite passionate about fighting climate crisis that we're looking at right now. But COP president says that developed countries are losing their enthusiasm. So what's your take on that?
I think, there may be, in some quarters, but what is the need of the hour is that put this information in the, share this information with all the stakeholders. And then present these facts. Because when I'm saying that, AIIB or the other multilateral development banks, if they are able to raise money, right? If the pension funds of the world or the sovereign, the sovereign funds of the world, if they are interested in investing in the climate-oriented projects, then where is the, what is the trigger for pessimism? So I think, one has to view from that perspective.